of all, I want to say that it is very important to talk about legal and institutional framework, especially about international sources of law as one of the most important parts of our legal system, and of course about our national law. First of all, Montenegrin society is characterized by a general climate of tolerance, with no single ethnic group making up the majority of the population. In our constitution, Montenegro is defined as a civil, democratic, ecological, and a state of social justice based on the rule of law. The bearer of sovereignty is a citizen with Montenegrin citizenship. The Montenegrin constitution provides the legal basis for the promotion, strengthening, and improvement of the protection of fundamental human rights and freedoms, and confirms Montenegro's obligations to respect international standards in that context. Very important for us is Article 9 of Constitution. Article 9 has established that international treaties and generally accepted rules of international law make an integral part of the domestic legal order, and that they have primacy over domestic legislation and apply directly when relations are regulated differently from domestic legislations. Also, Montenegro ratified the most important legal instruments. These are the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights with both option protocol, as well as the Covenant on the Social, Economical and Cultural Rights, etc., etc. Also, Montenegro is bound by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but not the contractual, but as an international custom, of course, legal obligation. Also, among the Council of Europe illegal instruments, these are the European Convention on Human Rights, of European Convention for the Prevention of Torture, and Framework Convention for the Protection of National Minorities, etc., etc. Who are the minority nations and other minority national communities in Montenegro? According to the law on minority rights and freedoms, minority nations and other minority national communities are any group of citizens of Montenegro numerically smaller than the rest of predominant population, having common ethnic, religious or linguistic characteristics different from those of the rest of population, being historically tied to Montenegro and motivated by the wish to express and maintain their national, ethnic, cultural, linguistic and religious identity. The law on local self-government in Article 10 stipulates that the municipality shall provide conditions to protection and promotion of minority rights, as well in accordance with the Constitution, international legal acts and special law. This is the population by national affiliation. 50 of them, they are Montenegrins, almost 45%, Serbs, almost 29%, Albanians, almost 5%, Bosniaks, almost 9%, and Muslims, almost 3.5%. This is the percent from 2011. We will see next, or for 2 years, what is the now situation, probably similar of that, but we will see after next fund. One of the most important for these topics about social rights, one of the most important institutions in our country is the Fund for the Protection of Minority Rights. By the law on minority rights and freedoms, and by the decision of the establishment of the Parliament of Montenegro to support activities important for preservation and development of national and ethnic specificities of minority nations and other minority national communities and their members in the field of national, cultural, linguistic and religious identity, established the Fund for the Protection and Realization of Minority Rights in Montenegro. Fund is very important, and he is with the Center for Minority Rights, absolutely the basic institutions as the leading institutions for projects and some jobs which is very integrated into national minorities in Montenegro. The financial support provided to members of minority nations and other minority national communities for the promotion and presentation of their cultural activities. As you can see, the number of supported projects by national communities, that is, I think, in 2017, Albanian project 38, Bosniak 48, Croatian 70, multi-ethnic and multinational 8, Muslim 25, Roma for 11, and Serbia 21. In Montenegro, the official language is Montenegrin, and the languages in official use are Serbian, Bosnian, Croatian, and Albanian. The official use of language implies in particular the use of language in administrative and court proceedings, and in conducting administrative and court proceedings, issuance of public documents and keeping official records, the ballot papers and the other election material, and the work of representative bodies. The latest amendments on the law on minority rights and freedoms specifically define certain terms, so the expression "a significant part," as I mentioned on the start of this presentation, is replaced by the word "at least 5%. So 5% is enough for minority nation in Montenegro. Therefore, in the local self-government units in which members of minority nations and the other minority national communities make up the majority, or 5% of the population, according to the results at the last two consecutive census, in the official use is also the language of these minority nations and the other minority national communities. That is the rule in Montenegro. I think very liberal and very flexible. And the constitution in Article 79, items 9 and 10, to minority nation and other minority national communities guarantees the right to authentic representation in the Parliament of Montenegro and in the assemblies of the local self-governance units in which they represent a significant share in the population according to the principle of affirmative action. The proportionate representation in public service, state authorities and local government bodies. In the local self-government units in which minority nation and other national minorities, that is of course almost the same position. What about social rights? In accordance with the law on civil servants and state employees, the Human Resources Management Authority is responsible for monitoring the implementation of measures in order to achieve proportional representation of minority nation and other minority national communities in state organ, gender balance, representation and employment of persons with disabilities. National structure of the employees, number and percentage in all 141 organs in Montenegro. As you can see, almost 75% Montenegrins, almost 11% Serbs, 2.5% Albanians, 5% Bosniaks, 2% Muslims, less than 1% Romas, and Croats less than 1%, and others. What we can see here, especially when we talk about Serbs, they are 28% in Montenegro and only 11% in state organs, or on the other side, Albanians, they are more than almost 5%, and half of them are in state institutions. That can be a problem. So I think that is one of the most important topics for our state institution to change this. It is very important when we talk about affirmative action, the principle of affirmative action defined by the electoral legislation, specifically reflected in preferential treatment, where no electoral list for the election of minority parties, member of particular minority nations and other minority national communities meets the defined census of 3% of the total number of valid votes and receives at least 0.7% of the valid votes individually, entities and holder to share mandates. It is very important to say that for Croatian people in Montenegro, in the event that none of the electoral lists for the election of the minorities parties of this minority fulfills the above conditions, the most successful of these lists with at least 0.35% of valid votes shall be entitled to one mandate. That is, of course, very good solution for Croatians. Issues for immediate action: strengthening autonomy of minorities, especially the area of promoting cultural and social rights. The key elements for these topics are national minorities councils as the most important part of the autonomy of minorities, and for the development of social rights in Montenegro. So we have Serbian, Croatian, Bosnia's national minority councils. Take measures to improve the social and economic situation of minorities, particularly by increasing employment opportunities and ensuring effective access to health care and education, and effective participation in general. Minorities are underrepresented in public services. About positive effects of autonomy in Montenegro, we can say that we have new territorial divisions in the last 60 years. 3 new municipalities have been created since 2013, Petnica, Gusinje and Tuzi. The first 2 municipalities listed here have Bosnian and as the majority language, whilst Tuzi has Albanian as its majority language. The creation of Tuzi municipality has been a long-standing goal of the Albanian political parties, and its creation has been completed in consultation with those parties and, of course, national councils of Albania. Negative effects of strengthening autonomy in this case is that we recommend that the authorities carry out any future territorial changes in close consultation with those persons belonging to national minorities living in the areas affected, minority representatives and organizations. So, this is the common topics about social rights in Montenegro. Of course, Branko and I are here, so if you have any questions or comments for discussion, we can discuss later. And these are our emails, so be free to send us. Thank you very much.